Hi, I'm David Kelly. I'm the president and CEO of Chicana Copper. Chicana Copper is a junior exploration company focused in Peru. We have a sole asset in the Soledad project. We've made a very significant copper, gold, silver discovery in the Ancash province. It's in an active mining district. We're exploring the property for tourmaline breccia pipes. They have very exceptional grades. We have sulfide contents that range from disseminated all the way to massive with some really spectacular copper, gold, and silver grades. We're in a great location with great infrastructure, supportive communities that are familiar with mining and have been for a long time. And we're aggressively exploring this project to a maiden resource or a first initial resource that'll be out by the end of this year.
David, good to have you on. I think we saw you back in April, so it's been a while, and we saw the headlines. So I wanted to speak to you because there's some pretty impressive numbers in there. But I couldn't help notice you've come off about 30% on the share price in a high copper environment. I mean, what's happening out there?
Yeah, it's hard to figure that one out, Matthew. I mean, I struggle answering the question. I certainly don't have the answers. If you look at all the copper companies right now, mid-tier, juniors, they're going down, and it's kind of it's counterintuitive. We know, I mean, copper's still above $4 a pound, right? 425 copper is a great, very strong copper price, and then we know the future of copper is very it looks great because of all the clean energy initiatives that have been happening in the U.S. They've declared major commitment for clean energy initiatives, electric vehicle proliferation, and that type of thing. And copper is going to be one of the greatest benefactors of these clean energy movements by multiple governments around the world. So we know the future, even though the copper is strong now, it's going to get better. So why would copper companies, especially ones that are making discoveries and putting out really impressive drill results, be declining in a time like this? And it's hard for me to understand. I do know there's a lot of a lot of investors are nervous about the markets these days. That the debt that multiple countries have taken on has skyrocketed, including especially in the U.S., and that makes a lot of people nervous about investing in the stock market at this time. But we are going to focus on what we're good at, to control what we can control, and that's to continue to advance this project and put out good results.
I mean, look, you're based in the US. I mean, just so to get a bit macro here, I mean, what are the noises that you're hearing out of the government? I mean, is there some sort of deadline to this? Usually there's some deadline that people are waiting for some kind of announcement. And, we're as confused over this side of the pond as you seem to be, but what should we be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what's going to make it turn. The government in the U.S. has, they're supporting all these clean energy initiatives, yet they're not supporting mining in the U.S. And that's going to put even greater value on assets in other parts of the world. We think that's actually going to play in our favor. The fact that 4 key mega copper projects in North America have been put on hold, that's just going to increase the need for that metal from other producing regions. So I think that's going to be a good thing. I think there is still a lot of concern about what COVID will do globally. We're still in the middle of it. We're not out of it yet. There's variants that are now affecting multiple countries globally. We're dealing with that in Peru as well. So I think there's still a lot of concern about investing in a climate when there's so much uncertainty.
Okay, well, you touched on another topic there, which I wanted to ask you about, which is Peru, and how things have been, because I think we talked several times about the political scene there and what's going on, and the uncertainty and unrest. I mean, is that affecting you at an operational level?
Well, it's not. And I just came back from my first trip to Peru just 3 weeks ago. And that was, after an 18-month hiatus of not traveling to Peru. I mean, we're fortunate that we have a really exceptional operational team in Peru. It's all Peruvian. They've demonstrated their ability to incorporate all the necessary COVID protocols. We're very fortunate that we've never had a positive case on our project due to the protocols that we have in place. But I can tell you that after coming back from there, I was really impressed with how Peru is getting on with their economy, even in spite of COVID. The mining industry, I describe it as bustling. It's really very, very active. The mines are producing, exploration is happening, companies are drilling. I went to the laboratory and checked in on how they're doing, and they are maxed out right now. The turnaround time in Peru in the laboratories is not because of their reduced capacity or fewer employees and dealing with COVID. It's because they're maxed out with sample submittals. They're expanding their capabilities. They're going from 12 to 14 ICP-MS units, which is huge to begin with. They're expanding their fire assay capabilities. So business is on in Peru. I don't see any negative effect from the elections and Castillo's administration yet. I think if you look at what Castillo wants to achieve as a president, it involves maximizing output from mining, and I think we're going to see support from them, and not something that's going to get in our way.
So talk to me about the team down there, because you said that's your first visit to Peru. You've been managing this remotely during COVID. Is the local team entirely Peruvian?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they come from all parts of Peru. We have a lot of people that come out of Lima, but we also have people that come out of Trujillo and Arequipa and other parts of Peru. The great thing about Peru is it is a mining country, and it has a very, very long history. You see it in the academic institutions there. There are multiple universities that train professionals in mining, from engineering to geology to environment to social programs. So they have a very rich academic environment for educating people. And then there's all the numerous mines that operate give the Peruvians opportunities to practice their trade and develop the experience base. So we certainly benefit from that. Our exploration team is really exceptional, I think, in being able to focus on delivering what we need to demonstrate to the market that this is a very, very significant discovery.
But tell me, break that team down from when you say the local team, the operational team is all Peruvian. Who's doing what? Is it 100% everyone that you use on the ground there Peruvian, and you're dipping in what every now and again to do what? Give them guidance on?
Yeah, I am a geologist, so and that's one of the hard things for a CEO to do is to step back from the role of being directly involved in the day-to-day and the exploration stuff. But it's also the fun part of it, right? Helping put together a program and bringing in the experts. The operational on the ground execution is all Peruvian. We have a permanent staff of Peruvians that are Chicana employees, and then we employ about 20 local people from the communities that help us expand our on the ground capabilities that deal with reclamation and drill pad construction and a lot of the initiatives we have with the local communities of improving the infrastructure, repairing aqueducts and those types of things. There's multiple programs, and those local employees help us with that. In addition to that, we supplement with experts that come in. For example, we have a gentleman named Bill Tanaka, resource geologist. Bill's worked on about 160 projects in his career. He's Denver-based here, and he's the one that's planned all of the drilling for these resource drilling programs. We have a young female geologist, very exceptional leapfrog modeler, Yin Lai Chi. She does all of our three-dimensional modeling. So if you've ever looked at our graphics in our news releases, she's really the one that puts together the main product there that demonstrates the shape and nature of these drilled out breccia pipes. So we supplement the team with experts, but on the ground operations is all based in Peru.
But there's no sort of expectation. Look, you're a junior explorer. It's 30 million market cap. It's early days, but people come on here and they talk, we've got ESG initiatives. We're doing lots for the local community. Does employing 100% local people allow you to, does it give you some kind of permission? Does it give you some kind of leeway in terms of the way that you do things? Or have you got to be mindful that, you're in someone else's country, you're looking and exploring for, their resources? How do you manage that? Because I'm sort of intrigued that because we see so many cases now of, roadblocks being put up, sometimes literally roadblocks being put up for companies like yourself in different parts of the world. Have you got an eye on that?
Yeah, the way I view it is we need them and they need us, or they benefit from us being there. They're part of our team. I've never looked at it as, we need to do this in order for our project to advance. I've always looked at it as, in order for our project to advance, we need their help, and they provide, they expand our team and give us the ability to accomplish much more than we could if we brought in an external team. They know the people, they understand the area. Whenever we need anything, we turn locally first to try to find a person or a group that can come in and provide a service to us. A good example is local road building and the heavy equipment that we use. We always try to source locally because we think we're going to get a better product for that. Our ESG program, Doug Silver, when he joined, and Doug is very big on ESG. And he was when he was with Orion. Orion put ESG at the very top of any of their investments that they made. And he came in and, after looking at the company and understanding what we're doing, he said, "You guys are doing a great job with ESG." He said, "You're actually doing the job of what I would say is a mid-tier in terms of the level that you're executing your ESG." He said, "We need to do some work on documenting it, and Doug's helping us articulate our ESG policy as a tangible living document that we'll have to work with." But he said, "What you're actually doing is great. And we have a number of initiatives. We have a textile program with the women's group in IHA. We have infrastructure improvement plan that runs throughout the year. We have a tree planting program. We have we have a community garden program that's been tremendously popular. We've built 3 community gardens now, and we have an agriculturalist that works in our company that's demonstrating and showing the Peruvians how to grow things other than potatoes. They're great at growing potatoes. They're great farmers, and we're showing them that all these other things that we can grow at this altitude. Radishes, turnips, beets. Those types of things, and they were so excited about the success of one of the gardens that went in first, that we took them and their produce from this garden and had them exhibit in an agricultural fair in Huaraz this year to just show the different types of things that we could do. So that's one of our many programs that we have running at the moment.
Okay, that's interesting to know. So look, you got some great headlines on the two latest press releases, and I want to talk about them, but I want to talk about them in the context of how you get noticed, because I think we've just talked about how you get noticed in the right way locally, because you've got to do things the right way. And I appreciate some of those initiatives. I wasn't aware of some of those initiatives, but you've got to work out at this stage what the audience that you're talking to. These headlines are kind of eye-catching, or at least they should be to the market, which you've got a big retail following, but it hasn't done anything, hasn't touched the sides here, right? So that one, I guess, was that a surprise? And then 2, what is the ultimate audience that you're talking to? Is it the end buyer, and you're trying to do that now, or is it retail? I mean, how do you manage those messages into market?
Yeah, well, I guess addressing the first question, was that result of surprise? Kind of the way I look at it, it's more from a geostatistical standpoint. If you've already drilled 55,000 meters, you would think that you've seen everything, right? That there are no surprises. The chances of hitting something better than you've ever seen before is almost nil. And yet, we keep getting better results than we've ever seen. After 55,000 meters, we hit 12 meters of massive sulfide that was 90% chalcopyrite. I mean, that's the mineral that hosts the copper. That's why the grade in that interval was 27% copper, but it also had just under a kilogram of silver to go with it. We had seen massive sulfide intercepts before. In fact, we went back after this one and said, okay, well, how many massive sulfide intercepts do we have on the project? And we have 12. 12 that are greater than 1 meter in length. But this was the best one by far. And so, when you're still seeing those kind of results after all the work that we've done, it just tells me that the blue sky potential is there. We're still going to continue to see nice surprises like this. And as we're doing more detailed infill drilling, we're finding these zones, we're learning more about them and what controls them. So I think, I get asked a lot, do you expect to see more of this? And I absolutely do. Those 12 intercepts occur in 4 of the 6 breccia pipes that are going to be in the initial resource. So the potential exists in all 4 of those breccia pipes to come in and find zones like we've just caught on to in Breccia 1 in the Blind North pipe. And I expect to see more of that in the future. Regarding your second question, how do you get recognition? What's your real audience? Is it retail, or is it the ultimate, goal of selling this to a developer and to come in? They're both really important. Our stock moves on the retail. We know that our institutional shareholders are long term. We know that Gold Fields is long term. We know that the insiders and management is long term. So there's really just about a 25% part of our shareholding that's really moving the stock. And so that's obviously where we need to focus and get this story out about what the significance of this discovery is. I can tell you, when we do put out news releases like this, I get a lot of accolades from my colleagues in the industry, most of which still work in the major part of the industry. BHP, Barrick, Newmont. Obviously, Gold Fields is very excited about our results. So I take a lot of personal satisfaction that when we put out results like that, I hear from these people in these major companies. They're watching us. There's no doubt about it. And I do think that our stock will perform. I think the resource estimate is really key to that, to demonstrate that we've got a well-organized mineral system that hangs together nicely.
So when's that due? I mean, I think you talked about doing a resource estimate by the end of this year. Is that still on?
Yeah, that's right, and that's been my commitment. I take off on Friday for my second trip down to Peru. This trip will be hosting our QP, a gentleman named Dr. Jill Arsenault. He's a very well-known resource estimator in the industry. He's Canadian-based, and he's our QP for the project. He will be signing off on the resource estimate. The last, drill samples just went into the lab last week, and so they're in process. We still have 61 drill holes to publish that are in various stages of from assays pending to samples just getting into the lab. So we still have lots of news flow leading up to this news release, or to the resource estimate. But we're on track to get that out this year. We're working really hard, and everyone's aligned with that goal.
So just on that, because you need to kind of piece all this together for us. So you've got the resource estimate at the end of this year. Is this just a stake in the sand, or is this something that you're going to stand behind and go, hey, we cracked it here? I mean, how much data is actually going to be in there, and how much is going to be left out?
Well, the resource estimate will have all of the resource definition drilling that we've done over this last 32,000 meters of drilling. So, I don't know the exact numbers right now. I'd have to look it up, but the majority, I would say, 20,000 meters, 25,000 meters of that has gone into resource definition drilling, and all of that, 100% of that will be part of the resource estimate. Now, having said that, the resource estimate is just going to be what I call the initial resource estimate. It's only based on 6 breccia pipes. It's only going to be down to 300 meters. All the pipes are open at depth. We know that. We know we can expand resources in the future simply by continuing to drill out what we've already found. Well, we also know that we've got 110 targets on the project. Only 15 of those have been tested. Of those 15, 6 of those ended up being pipes that we drilled out that are going into the resource estimate. So if you apply that success ratio, to the rest of our inventory of targets, there's a tremendous upside potential built in right there. I mean, that's really our growth story of how we're going to take this initial resource and double it, quadruple it, continue to advance it with aggressive exploration, both at depth and expanding the number of breccia pipes that are in the resource estimate.
Right, so how much money have you got, and how much of that is going to go into further drilling, infill or otherwise?
Yeah, so our treasury is right at about 4.75 Canadian right now, and that's enough to see the completion of all the work that's in progress, the resource estimate, and get that published and out to the market. So we're strong financially. We're not drilling at the moment, and we chose to stop drilling once we finished the resource drilling. We decided to stop the exploration drilling, the new target testing, because we're doing some really exciting geophysics on the property at the moment. We brought in Goldfields has made available their chief geophysicist, a gentleman named Andrew Foley. I worked with Andrew at Newmont before. He's really an exceptional geophysicist. And it was really the first time we stepped back and said, okay, we need to apply geophysics that's specific to these tourmaline brecciapite type of targets, not apply a standard setup that you do for a porphyry or skarn or an epithermal type of system. There's a lot of kind of template, boilerplate approach to geophysics in the industry. But when you have people like Andrew available to you, you can really go in and tear it apart. And we do what's called orientation surveys. It's really taking these brecciapites we've already drilled out and have a lot of internal knowledge about, and then setting up the geophysical studies to go in there, different arrangements, different spacing, different types of approaches, and really figure out how to dial it in. And we've done that. We have two new geophysical approaches that are being used on the property at the moment. One's called gradient array induced polarization, and the other is a form of a 3D IP. And they have different purposes, but together they really do an exceptional job of identifying where the brecciapipes can occur, and then within those zones, where are the sweet spots where we need to go and target and drill test. And as you recall, we have blind drill brecciapipes on the property. We know that not all the brecciapipes are cropping out at surface. So not only are we going to go after these 110 targets that are obvious features, but we're identifying new blind drill targets too that will be no doubt part of the future success discovery story of the project.
Okay, so here's the, I guess, the challenge for you guys is to, you need a moment here, because there's been a sort of slide in terms of the share price, right? For the year. You are getting on and doing some drilling, and there's some big numbers in there, but you've got to piece the story together for the market. You've got to, I know you're coming up with a resource estimate at the end of this year, but if you call that a maiden resource or initial resource or the first resource, people are going to go, oh, that's what they've got. Yet it's only based on, partial data in a sense. It's only based on, would you say 4 or 6 of the brecciapipes? Six of the brecciapipes, okay? So, but people read a lot into that. And we've seen companies come on here and they've said, they've told us in 2 or 3 interviews, we're going to put out a resource estimate. It's only going to be a small one, just a stake in the sand. They've said it 3 times, loud, headlines everywhere. And when they go and do that, people go, oh, we were expecting more. Do you know? So you need to signpost really heavily, what this initial resource estimate is. So what is it? How are you defining it? How should people look at that?
Well, our goal has always been to put out a resource that by its very nature underpins the start of what can be a new mine in Peru. We didn't want to start off with a small resource that, if you triple that or quadruple it, then maybe you're starting to look at something that could turn into a mine. We will start with something that is material. I don't know what the numbers are going to be yet. We're crunching the numbers, and we still have a lot of outstanding numbers to come in. But I can tell you, it's going to create the basis for what is going to be a new mine in Peru. I'm absolutely convinced of this, and I say that based on the experience of our team. What Bill Tanaka's impressions are of the mineral system we're dealing with. When he comes back and says this is one of the most well organized mineral systems I've ever seen, what he's really referring to is the fact that it hangs together. It's not just a director's hole here and then some negative results and then another good hit over here or some high grade structure. This stuff is sitting together in a nice uniform way, in a very well organized way. The grade is variable. We go from disseminated mineralization to massive sulfide, right? So and everything in between. But the fact that it hangs together and it creates these zones, the mining geometry looks ideal. The vertical breccia pipes on the side of a hill where you can drive in with adits to intersect the breccia pipes. You can mine up. You can let gravity pull the ore down. You can put your waste back in the mine. It has all the great hallmarks you look for in what could be a mine. So I think that's really going to be the step change, is a resource that has some real meat to it, right? Something that companies can come in and start doing their engineering story studies, start studying, start looking at how this could be turned into a mine. And I think that's when the realization of what kind of value we've created in this discovery is gonna play out.
Okay, so you're going to come to the market with some kind of, you can't put economics near it. Well, I probably can in dumb language, and say it's going to be an economic starter resource estimate, because it's only partial data, and you've got all of this other stuff that hangs off the back of it, which could build it out into something. Okay, and so be very clear here. You're not saying it's an economic. I'm saying, I'm just trying to understand the difference between what you put out and what I hear a lot, and why that then gives this company a chance where others have failed or will fail. But coming back to that share price thing, the declining share price here, I need a growth story. That's the other thing as an investor I'm going to need. Why is this a growth story where other copper stories aren't? Because we've seen a few copper companies come through our doors, and they're in a similar position to you, but they haven't been able to explain to me how they're going to get this thing either financed or into production or move to the next stage, because they're dependent on copper price, which is already doing a lot for them, doing even more for them. What do you do?
Yeah, and I think it's really going to come down to how robust is the resource. And we've talked about this before. Grade is king, and we've got grade. We've got excellent grade. And that grade is going to protect you on the downside when you're in a down cycle for metal prices, and it's going to really, really reward you on the up cycle. So, we've got grade on our side. We've got location infrastructure. The resource itself is going to be a starter resource that, even if you put that into production, it could turn into a we think it will turn into a very profitable operation. But then you have to step back and say, well, how big could this thing be? What if we do double or triple or quadruple the number of breccia pipes? And what if we go underground and continue to expand this? Could this thing be 10 times bigger than our starting point? Those are the kind of questions we're asking. And, that's why we've gotten the attention of the major companies. That's why, Gold Fields came in and invested in 2019, because they saw that upside potential. I look at the project as very low risk that this is not going to be a successful mine. And certainly the probability or possibility that this could be an enormous mine, right? If we continue our discovery track record like we've already demonstrated over the last 4 years with these other targets that we have, this project has got scalability, and that's something that a lot of people can't say. They don't have grade, they don't have scalability, they don't have the location and the infrastructure. They're not in a mining country. I mean, there's all these things where you got to go down and start ticking the boxes. And if I were an investor and I'm looking at investing in, some great discovery success story, I would want to know, yeah, you might have a 10% zinc deposit, but if it's in the middle of nowhere, it's never going to be a mine, not in our lifetime, right? But that's not the case here. We're talking about high grade copper, gold, and silver at a time when the demand for copper is going to reach levels it's never seen before. And, and at a time when Peru continues to crank out the copper at the same rate it did before the elections, it's still the number 2 copper producer in the world, and it's going to stay that way for a long, long time. So they need discoveries like we've made. And, we're happy to continue to put out results that indicate that this is going to be a mine in Peru someday.
Do you think Gold Fields is part of the problem here? Do you think people are nervous about what their intention is? Do you think that they're going to pick this thing up cheap? I mean, where's the competitive tension that you're going to need to optimize the price here? I mean, that's going to be really important to you. That's one of the things that's going to be important to you.
Yeah, I think there is an overhang in the stock as a result of that. I always remind people that there's no first right of refusal. It's wide open. Anyone else can come in, and you see great examples like with SolGold that has, BHP and Newcrest on their register. I know that's an issue in some people's mind, but I think there's a number of ways to move forward. I think the way we finance the company going forward, will there's ways of expanding the way we build out our shareholder list, and Goldfields has been a great partner for us, and I'm real happy that they came in. I don't really think it's going to be an issue. I think we've got to get to a certain level for them to for it to be on their radar screen, and that's going to be bigger than we are going to start with in this resource. So they're not going to jump in, I don't think, and try to take us out until we've materially demonstrated that we can deliver this project at the level of their kind of minimum threshold, and that's a lot bigger than we're going to start. So if we get to that level, then there's no doubt that people are going to be lined up and want to participate in this. There's always the opportunity, there's always a possibility that two mining companies get involved and it gets developed as a joint operation. You see lots of examples of that as well. So I think there's a perception out there, but in reality, it's wide open. Anyone can come in and invest in our company.
Okay, so given that you've been talking the language of this thing could be huge, then the expectation of in the market that potentially it'll be really interesting for Goldfields. You can understand why that's there. But given what the bit I wanted to know is, if you're cognizant of it and aware of it, you are, what do you do about it to get the competitive tension? So, who else has been picking up the phone and going, hey, saw your results. They look great. We're here if you get any more of that. Are you getting those phone calls?
Yeah, we are, and it comes from a lot of different directions. We get mid-tier miners that are interested in the project. There's always a possibility that we don't reach Goldfields minimum threshold, and they step back, right? I don't think they'll be the kind of shareholder that'll want to capitulate, but it's possible they could step back and say, we think this is a great project. It's not material to us at this point in time. It could be in the future. We want to sit on our shareholding and let somebody else come in and a mid-tier come in. That could happen. We get lots of attention from royalty and streaming companies, obviously, because we have very high grades and we have multi-metals, right? So, and some of these, royalty and streaming companies are developers as well. So you could bring in a company that helps finance the project going forward. They get involved in the royalties or the streaming aspect of it. They've got the potential to bring in and develop a mine. So there's lots of interesting ways that you can go about the financing. And I can tell you, bringing a guy like Doug Silver onto the board just opens so many doors for us. We just came back from Beaver Creek and we had 30 meetings back to back over 3 days. It was one of the most gratifying investment conferences I've ever participated in the last 4 or 5 years. And a lot of the doors that were opened were because Doug was sitting at the table and we're talking to these companies, and they're asking Doug, why did you join the board of Chakana Copper? And he says, first and foremost, I am a geologist, and this is one of the most exciting discoveries I've seen in a long time. He loves this project. He loves the upside potential. He loves the optionality of it. The fact that you've got multiple metals, you've got high grades, you've got great blue sky potential. And Doug wouldn't join the board of just anyone. Doug's a personal friend. I've known him for 20 years, but he wouldn't have joined the board just on that basis. He's really excited about the project, and he's also excited about what he can contribute to our growth going forward. And I know we're going to see some great things that are going to come out of Doug's contribution.
Brilliant. David, I appreciate you coming on and having a chat with us today, updating us. The bit I guess I want to see is, obviously the resource estimate and how you can start talking the language of a starter mine, because you've got so much potentiality, but that costs money. That usually suggests dilution or giving away royalties or streaming deals. You've got to come up with a way of showing the market the potential of one, being a producer. That's hard. Not enough good copper stories out there. We've been trying to find good copper stories. I want copper in my portfolio. It'd be great to see if and when you can demonstrate that. And then obviously later on the scale of this thing and the economics of this thing. So appreciate your time today. Stay in touch. Let us know how you get on. Okay.
Thank you, Matthew. Really appreciate it.